think about Mr. Avery, that you had a moment of silence, and Mr. Floyd George that just recently passed this on Monday. The brother was laying on the ground saying, he's handcuffed. I can't breathe. I'm done fighting. Let me go. And for 9 minutes, they held his brother down until he died. 2 weeks before, we had folks in Michigan that stormed the Capitol with guns ablazing.
With assault weapons.
With assault weapons. And they all walked home unharmed. So that disparity and the racial injustice that happened in our criminal justice system. I'm a criminal justice major. That was my major in school. And I say that it still needs reforming, and we've only tipped the iceberg.
I want to go back a little bit when I was planning this panel and talk about when I actually first met Maurice, when we first spoke on the phone. And Maurice, when we first met and spoke, it was a few days after the Ahmaud Arbery murder. And we talked a lot about trauma and healing. And I remember you telling me, like, if this is a fireside chat I'm going to be a part of this needs to be about healing. And unfortunately, we started this week with George Floyd and video in Minneapolis, Christian Cooper in New York City. And this pandemic period for Black and Brown community seems to have this compounding effect with with racism being a persistent factor that's kind of running through it. Can you talk about what addressing racism looks like on a personal, interpersonal, and institutional level, and how we might think about how that translates in our corporate and work experience?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind, honestly, is for white people who say that they love Black people, they need to talk to white people about racism. That a part of this healing cannot be people of color trying to educate everyone about the historical injustices that continue to sort of play out in Black communities and in Black and Brown spaces. And I always say that because this racism, whiteness created race. So therefore they are also responsible for disrupting race. And I never sort of want to have a conversation, even within the school system, of talking about racism and not holding white people accountable for talking to their counterparts about race. So I say that first. The second piece of that is one of the ways that I know healing can happen is a part of acknowledging the history of why people are in the conditions that they're in. And so to not sort of delay the emotional tax on people of color is a part of healing. And I think we already know how to heal. We're going to write songs, we're going to dance, we're going to cry, we're going to commune together. So there is like this sort of emotional healing that we will have. But the other side of healing is correcting the systemic injustices that have happened. And right now, I have zero sort of like patience even with myself by giving injustice a pass at what it has caused in the lives of people. And I think it's important right now for us to affirm each other and let each other know that we are beautiful in who we are. We're great in who we are. We bring assets to the table. The music that we enjoy in this country has been drafted through our suffering and our pain. The way we sing, the way we move, the way we dance, the way we draw, the way we do poetry, like all of those things that make us fully and authentically human and a beautifully rich people, we have to continue those things. So we can't lose the arts in this therapeutic space. And then I guess I do have a third thing. The other thing I'll add is it's also important that we take care of each other and look out for each other and not judge each other. And that we sort of avoid this, sometimes I even see it among my own friends of Black people need to stop doing this. And, we got the highest debt rate because of this. And it always seems to lay the burden back on the people. And I believe when doing equity work, you can never center the problem in the problem. The problem is always impacted by the things around it. So what are the things that are around this thing that have to be addressed in order to really move the suffering out of the way to ensure that people have longevity long life and who can be fully whole in who they are and decenter whiteness and privilege as a sort of aspiration of what we want to be. I think that's where I am right now.
I like to say thank you. I really, that's real. I appreciate that. And I think that too resonates with a lot of my personal feelings. I heard this quote and it's just been resonating in my head heavily. And it's been, somebody said, it's like, in order to be in my friend group, like, not being racist is not enough. I need you to be anti-racist. And I just kept, and I just kept thinking about that, of just that concept of people just like not being racist and thinking like, all right, you know, but what that builds when we think about how we interact interpersonally. So Maurice, thank you for sharing that.